By the way, I know I'm sure you've heard this a lot over the last year, but it is such a brilliant film, Muscle. My God, I was not expecting it. It was fantastic. I'm going to begin by asking. I'm going to begin by asking you what it was that attracted you to this project, and just how brilliant a role this was for you to get your teeth stuck into for an actor.
Oh, mate, I don't know where to begin. Let me just say, it's so lovely to hear that reaction, because that has been the reaction, and it's just so nice. Once, I mean, Muscle has been the beginning of this. It's just to be associated with something so classy and so well executed, and just such a great film. I mean, I remember watching it for the first time and thinking, it sort of blew me away, even though I was in it. I've never had that feeling before. I just loved it as a film, because I loved that stuff, that dark, weird, strange, you know. But I'd met Gerard through a friend of mine, another actor, a while ago. And I was a massive fan of Hyena and Tony. And I met him briefly, and my mate said to me, you know, these are the directors you want to be working with. And I was just saying, oh God, you imagine if I was lucky enough to, you know, get a role in something he was doing, basically. Anyway, cut long story short, he mentioned this to me. He said, I've got this script, this idea, and I'd love you to do it, because I think there's a lot more to you than people are seeing. So I was like, oh really? Yeah. And it was called The Trainer originally. Anyway, cut long story short, he then sent me the script a little while down the road. I read it and I was like, it sort of blew me away. I said I'd kill to play a role like this. I mean, he said, well, listen, you know, the film's going to go ahead and you're going, you know, we want to offer you the role. I was like, and I remember, you know, learning the lines and thinking about it, because the physicality stuff wasn't a worry for me. You know, he was ex-military, he'd been in the gym all his life, like I've always trained. But it was the complexity of Terry, you know, the little nuances of him as a person, as a human being, you know, the underlying sexuality of him, just the way, the manipulation, the cunningness, he's just one of them people, you know. I've met them sort of overpowering guys growing up. It was just, I'm just so happy to have played the part.
Yeah, because watching you in that part, it felt like a great role, but I mean, you did such a remarkable job of it. But do you feel in some ways that, despite, I mean, you've had a fantastic career, but you almost feel that it's quite easy to be underestimated in this industry? And, you know, because I mean, this role is such a nuanced, like you said, layered character, that you feel like actually you should have had roles like this all along, really.
Oh, listen, you've said two things to me. It's all I hear now, when people message me and they, you know, on Twitter, all they ever say now to me is the underrated. Craig, you're so underrated. You're underrated. Emails, you're so underrated. I go, well, you know, that's not my fault. You know, I'm an actor. I'm out there. It's being able and be given the opportunity to play certain roles, and it's like that for a lot of actors. You know, I've seen actors who I'm big fans of, have been there at their whole life, and they've got to a certain age, and then the roles come along, and it's enabled them to show what they can really do. No, but it's lovely for you to say that, and to be able to get a role with so much meat on the bone, you know, and show that you can actually pull it off. That's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, and because obviously you met, I mean, I was going to ask, I'm not going to ask if you spent much time in the gym. I think it's clear as day you spent a lot of time in the gym. But have you been privy to this type of culture, this kind of hyper masculinity, this quite almost, yeah.
I started training when I was 15. You know, my best mate, you know, had a gym in Greenwich for 20 years. I've always trained, whether it was like, you know, on the pads when I was a young fella, always done me weights, always had a run, but I've never not done some type of physical activity in the gym, you know. And then when I did Cliffhanger, Stallone said to me, you know, use that, don't fight against it. You know, you're a big 6'3" fella. You've got a physicality about you. It's going to be a plus, not a minus. Don't shy away from it. And that was the greatest thing anyone could have ever told me, you know.
I wish I could start a sentence with "Stallone told me." That's-
I know that sounds really
no, because he did.
you know, he did, you know, and I was just a young kid in Italy, a tiny little part in a big film, but you meet people in life, and it doesn't matter if they say, you know, 1,000 words or one sentence. It's whether you take it on board or not, you know. And someone who's got a little bit of nous about them, you listen. I mean, I listened to my dad all my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going just looking back, because obviously Cliffhanger was some time ago now, but I was just because we've got a sort of connection, because obviously you were in Prime Suspect too, weren't you, back in the day? My uncle was the producer of Prime Suspect, Paul Marcus. So
really, you're joking?
Yeah. So yeah,
I actually loved Paul. We become pretty good friends.
Oh, nice. Know? Yeah, he always spoke really highly of you, so I knew you guys would work together.
No, he's a lovely man.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going to ask, obviously, sort of going back to, you mentioned when you watched Muscle back, and you kind of, because it's such a creative film, and the music and the atmosphere and the black and white. I wondered if when you watched it, did you have not only did you mention how much you enjoyed it, but did you almost treat it like an audience member? Because I guess what we see on screen is so different to what you shot, particularly the fact that you shot in color in real life. So I guess when you watch it back, have you almost got a disconnect, because does it almost feel like a different film to the one you made, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. It's funny you saying that. It really does. I think that is why it had such a profound effect on me when I went to the first ever screening, because it was 1,000,000 times better than I anticipated. You know, because I remember we was in Newcastle. It's an independent British film. I mean, you know, we shot it over 2 sections. So we started, and then Cavan went away for 6 months to put the weight on, and then we resumed filming in November. But you're right, because there was so much going on, and you never really saw. You know, I don't look at the monitor a lot and stuff, because Gerard didn't want to see anything in color when he was filming. You know, although we were in color in life. But you're right, there was a disconnect, but seeing it, like you said, the music, the way it was cut together, it was so atmospheric. And there was I don't think I've ever watched myself back in a film more so than Muscle, where it sort of blown me away, where I was like, oh God, I'm so proud to be a part of that. Finally, finally, I've got a good role. You know.
So when you watch it, do you see it in color out of interest? Because obviously you would have been in the moment. You would have been in that room with Cavan. You would have been there with the other actors. Yeah. So when you watch it, is it hard for you not to see it in color because you remember your own memories?
No, not at all. No, I see what I see when I watch it, and you know, I think the relationship between me and him, the chemistry, and the way Terry sort of slowly absorbs him in and takes over and becomes this you know, this bloke. I mean, I don't know how. I used to say to Gerard, how on earth you fucking come up with this guy?
Well, you say that. I mean, I've met people like him. I really have.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Because I was wondering too, because I mean, for someone, just to sort of talk about this year, obviously it's been a bit of a mad year, because you seem so kind of busy. You're one of those actors who seems to have a lot going on all the time, which is obviously a great testament to your talents. But I wondered about this year, and if you've as someone who travels a lot with work, have you quite enjoyed a bit of a breather? Have you been kind of that itching to get back out there and back on movie sets and stuff?
Well, I've just shot 2 films back to back. Yeah. 2 movies back to back in lockdown, and I had a third one that fell through. So I had 3 films sectioned for this end of the year. It's been a strange thing, to be honest with you, because something happened after Muscle. You know, I won Best Actor at the National Film Awards for my Footsoldier #3, funny enough, and then met Gerard, done this film, and then this sort of opened up. My career sort of took a sharp right turn into this sort of more highbrow, art housey type, complex, layered stuff with a little bit more weight. And then I did Villain after that. That was the Critics' Choice in the New York Times, and incredible reviews. commercially very successful, and then this very arty prison drama I've just done. So it's been really nice to come away from the super commercial gear and just be able to get my teeth into something to show what you can do as an actor. And I've been lucky enough to be offered these roles as I've got older, and and there's a few more just come through. And I'm eternally grateful for it, because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, no, it's fully deserved. Fully deserved. You've been grafting long enough. You get this.
Grafted, mate. I can't tell you. I've drove everyone mad. I've been horrible to be around it. I've been 30 fucking years of constantly chasing it. Remember your uncle? I had a conversation with him. He wrote to me when I was out when I was doing. It's so weird. I'll never forget it. When I was doing Cliffhanger, and we're going back when we was doing Prime Suspect to the 90s. I've been around a while, No, I sent him a still of me on set, and then he come back to it. It was just a little bit of banter. He was the first sort of producer I'd met that I could be normal with, because you was always a little bit apprehensive, a bit edgy around producers. You know what I mean? Because you want to be on your best behaviour because you want to get another job.
Obviously, you mentioned, of course, you've done some really sort of interesting sort of things across your career, but Rise of the Footsoldier is one that does keep coming back. And I just wanted to ask you just quickly, because it has just, some films just, they tap into something, and sometimes it's hard to put your finger on what it is, but Rise of the Footsoldier just transcended the usual movies of that nature and just really got this huge following, and they're brilliant films. I just wondered if you kind of foresaw that when you first got involved in that project. Could you see it having the kind of cult following it's kind of garnered over the years, and leading into however many movies now that you guys have shot in that as that character?
No, I never thought that. I just thought it was just another role. I was very lucky. I mean, I'd been through a little bit of a really bad patch. I'd come out of EastEnders. I hadn't done much for about 6 months. I jumped on a plane. I went back to the States. I thought the only way I can to get things going is to go back to LA. I ended up nicking White Noise 2. Now, the director was, when I was putting the film together, when it's a geezer from EastEnders. Oh, but he's just gone out to the States and he's just done another Hollywood movie. So it changed everything. So I needed that role. I wanted to show, because Pat Tate was a very big, fierce character, and I thought, give me a chance to show what I can do. I'll scare you. And it worked. But I never foresaw what it could, because it was 10 years later that they called me in and said, listen, we want to do another movie, but we want to concentrate on you. And that was like, and then they said to me, then we want to do another one where we concentrate on you. And then after the last one, I said, you know what, I'm done with it now. I'm done with it. But obviously Terry, who played Tony Tucker, always wanted to do the Tony Tucker story. And then lo and behold, he went out and because he's a producer as well, we raised the money to get it going to then make number 5. Which then Signature of then came in, and here we are. I've only got a little bit in number 5. I just went in just for a few days. But what can I say? I mean, I've enjoyed every minute. I went on Twitter yesterday and said, it's all over now. And it's just bombarded because the fans have been amazing. They really, and they've just been incredible. Like no fans have ever been. That franchise is so strong, and they love the movies. But I'm out of them now. I'm sort of going in, just doing other stuff. It's been great to be involved in, but you got to call it a day on certain stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I've sadly got to call it down this interview now, because I've got to interview Gerard straight after this. Yeah, but look, thank you so much for your time today, Craig. I think, that like we were saying before, it's fully deserved, and I'm really excited to see what you've got coming up. It sounds like you've got some exciting little projects in the pipeline. I
have. Thank you very much for the interview. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey